As I mentioned earlier, we didn't work as hard on the album as we did on the single, but we had fun trying out all sorts of songs, from Who's Lovin' You, the old Miracles song we were doing in the talent show days, to Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah. We did songs on that album that appealed to a wide audience, kids, teenagers, and grown-ups, and we all felt that was a reason for its big success. We knew that the Hollywood Palace had a live audience, a sophisticated Hollywood crowd, and we were concerned, but we had them from the first note. There was an orchestra in the pit, so that was the first time I heard all of I Want You Back performed live, because I wasn't there when they recorded the strings for the album. Doing that show made us feel like kings the way winning the citywide show in Gary had. Selecting the right songs for us to do was going to be a real challenge now that we weren't depending on other people's hits to win crowd. The Corporation guys and Hal Davis were put to work writing songs especially for us, as well as producing them. Barry didn't want to have to bail us all out again, so even after our first singles hit #1 on the charts, we were busy with the follow-ups. I Want You Back could have been sung by a grown-up, but ABC and The Love You Save were written for our young voices, with parts for Jermaine as well as me, another bow to the Sly sound, which rotated singers around the stage. The Corporation had also written those songs with dance routines in mind, the steps our fans did at parties as well as those we did on stage. The verses were tongue-twisting, and that's why they were split up between Jermaine and me. Neither of those records could have happened without I Want You Back. We were adding and subtracting ideas in the arrangements from that one mother lode of a song, but the public seemed to want everything we were doing. We later made 2 more records in the vein, Mama's Pearl and Sugar Daddy, which reminded me of my own schoolyard days. While I'm giving you the candy, he's getting all your love. We added one new wrinkle when Jermaine and I sang harmony together, which always got an enthusiastic response when we did it from the same mic on stage. The pros have told us that no group had a better start than we did, ever. I'll Be There was our real breakthrough song. It was the one that said, "We're here to stay." It was #1 for 5 weeks, which is very unusual. That's a long time for a song, and the song was one of my favorites of all the songs we've ever done. How I love the words, "You and I must make a pact, we must bring salvation back." Willie Hutch and Berry Gordy didn't seem like people who'd write like that. They were always kidding around with us when we weren't in the studio, but that song grabbed me from the moment I heard the demo. I didn't even know what a harpsichord was until that record's opening notes were played for us. The song was produced thanks to the genius of Hal Davis, assisted by Susie Akita, my other half, who stood next to me, song after song, making sure I put the right emotion and feeling and heart into the composition. It was a serious song, but we threw in a fun part when I sang, "Just look over your shoulder, honey." Without the honey, that's right out of the Four Tops' great song, "Reach Out, I'll Be There." So we were feeling more and more like a part of Motown's history as well as its future. Originally, the plan was for me to sing all the bouncy stuff and Jermaine to do the ballads, but though Jermaine's voice at 17 was more mature, ballads were more my love, if not really my style, yet. That was our 4th straight #1 as a group, and a lot of people liked Jermaine's song, "I Found That Girl," the B-side of "The Love You Save," just as much as the hits. We worked those songs into one big medley with plenty of room for dancing, and we went back to that medley when we performed on all kinds of TV shows. For instance, we played on The Ed Sullivan Show 3 different times. Motown always told us what to say in interviews back then, but Mr. Sullivan was one of the people who drew us out and made us feel comfortable. Looking back, I wouldn't say Motown was putting us in any kind of straitjacket or turning us into robots, even though I wouldn't have done it that way myself. And if I had children, I wouldn't tell them what to say. The Motown people were doing something with us that hadn't been done before, and who was to say what was the right way to handle that sort of stuff? Reporters would ask us all kinds of questions, and the Motown people would be standing by to help us out or monitor the questions if need be. We wouldn't have dreamed of trying anything that would embarrass them. I guess they were worried about the possibility of our sounding militant the way people were often doing in those days. Maybe they were worried after they gave us those afros that they had created little Frankensteins. Once a reporter asked a Black Power question, and the Motown person told him, "We didn't think about that stuff because we were a commercial product." It sounded weird, but we winked and gave the power salute when we left, which seemed to thrill the guy. We even had a reunion with Don Cornelius on his Soul Train show. He had been a local disc jockey during our Chicago days, so we all knew one another from that time. We enjoyed watching his show and picked up ideas from those dancers who were from our part of the country. The crazy days of the Big Jackson 5 tours began right after the successes we had with our records. It started with a big arena tour in the fall of 1970. We played huge halls like Madison Square Garden and the Los Angeles Forum. When Never Can Say Goodbye was a big hit in 1971, we played 45 cities that summer, followed by 50 more cities later that year. I recall most of that time as a period of extreme closeness with my brothers. We have always been a very loyal and affectionate group. We clowned around, goofed off a lot together, and played outrageous pranks on each other and the people who worked with us. We never got too rowdy. No TVs sailed out of our hotel windows, but a lot of water was spilled on various heads. We were mostly trying to conquer the boredom we felt from being so long on the road. When you're bored on tour, you tend to do anything to cheer yourself up. Here we were, cramped up in these hotel rooms, unable to go anywhere because of the mobs of screaming girls outside, and we wanted to have some fun. I wish we could have captured some of the stuff we did on film, especially some of the wild pranks. We'd all wait until our security manager, Bill Bray, was asleep. Then we'd stage insane fast walk races in the hallways, pillow fights, tag team wrestling matches, shaving cream wars, you name it. We were nuts. We'd drop balloons and paper bags full of water off hotel balconies and watch them explode. Then we'd die laughing. We threw stuff at each other and spent hours on the phone making fake calls and ordering immense room service meals that were delivered to the rooms of strangers. Anyone who walked into one of our bedrooms had a 90% chance of being drenched by a bucket of water propped over the doors.